Everyone, welcome back in another video. Today date is 10th of November 2022, and in our today's video we are going to see events in Angular. First of all, let's we see what is meant by events. Okay, when we are using any website or any web page, that time there was some buttons are available. Suppose there is a one login page. When we are inputting the ID, user ID and password, and when we click on that login button, that time one event is generated. That means that data is transferred from UI to the server. So between that communication, we are sending the request. So that's time we are sending just request to the server for do some specific task. So that time we have to create a generate an event. So we can transfer data from UI to server by using and creating an events. So in Angular, there was a different types of an events. So when we have to transfer data from UI to server, that time we passing it to the event, and when we have to pass data from server to the our UI, that time we are using a reference data. So in events, there are the different types of events, and we are going to see some most important events in Angular. So first one is a click, the next one is a key up, the next is a key down. After that, the next is a blur, then mouse over, and the last one is a mouse leave. We can discuss all those events one by one. So let's go towards first one, that is a click event. If we have to do a function when we are going to click on any particular button, that time we have considered that when we clicking on that button should perform some specific operation. That time we have to create a click button. So how we create? In our Angular, when we develop any build any project, that time there was a four default files are present in Angular. So these files are like app dot component dot html, then component dot css, then component dot spec, and then component dot ts. So all those folder containing their different features, like our component dot css containing all the aesthetics which are implementing on our UI or on our UI page. After that, the next one is the component dot html that containing all the structure and skeleton of our UI. That means the position of boxes, location of boxes, and the all those things which are make as a skeleton for the UI. After that, the next one is the component dot spec. That file is specifically used regards the testing purpose. And then next one is the component dot ts, and the ts in the ts we are going to see a logic for our business logic in our Angular. So for creating an event, we have to write the logic within our .ts file, and that .ts file can reflect in our HTML file. For that particular, we have to create any method. Suppose we are going to create a login method. That time we have to write that particular method in our com.ts file. Within that file, we simply write the method. Suppose login. After that, parenthesis. If we need, then we pass the parameter. After that, within the parenthesis, we are suppose giving one message. Suppose we give that like windows.war, and within that parenthesis we pass as a you are logged in. That message should be I want on my display. So that method is function is created in our ts.file, and we have to implement that function on our HTML file. So within HTML file, we are simply call that method from our component.ts. In .html file, there was we are going to like a function like suppose we can first of all create a button for click purpose. We create a button, and within that button we give there is a button opening and closing is tag there, and between that tag we pass the name for that particular button. Suppose we are name as that button like a click here, so that name is display on a UI. So button is there, and within that button we have to pass the method link or the address of that method which are written in our com.ts file. So that we are written in our button function. That means whenever we click on that login button, they execute the method which are written in our .ts file. So that is the one of the event which are created for a created on a clicking purpose. That means when we click on a button, that time that event should be generated. After that, move toward the next event, that is our key up. Key up means when we are when we are using our PC or laptop, that time there are multiple key. So we can facilitate that particular feature for a key up, like when we pressing the key and then we are releasing that key, that means the key is up. Okay, so we introducing that event whenever we are clicking any key on particular box. Okay, so next important thing is that we are not performing that key up or key down function on a button. That's why we are taking a text box. Suppose there is we are creating a text box, and on our UI by writing in HTML. Then we are only create by using a import and then text file is there. By writing only text, import tag is, and within that we are writing a text. So we get the text box on UI. If we are using that key of function within that our input input text box, that time if we are going to write anything on within that box, after if as we are releasing the key, that means we are going to type something within that box. When we are pressing that key, there is not any event is generated, but when we release that key, that time the event is generated, and that event should be displayed in our console, on our UI's console. We can see on that console. After that, the next one is a key up. Key up means it's a similar, but it that function is sorry. Next one is a key down. Key down is similar, but its event is generated at a time when we are pressing the key. That means our key up is only perform when we release the button, but key down can perform when we are pressing that key. So that is the similar. It is not performing on a button. That's why we are taking here text box. When we are write any something in our text box, that time we pressing the key, that time generating an event. The next one is a blur. So whenever we are using a blur, that time also we can create a text box, and that blur feature can work as whenever we writing something within that text box. Similarly, we are creating a one more text box, and we are writing the we are writing the event for the blur within that input. Whenever we writing something within the text box, so there was not any kind of a event is generated. When we click outside of that box, that time the event is generated. That means whenever we are writing within that box, there was not any generation of event. When we click outside from the text box, there was automatically generating a event. So that feature mainly using on those server which we are going to writing some forms or applications. That means when they input their details and they click outside from their input box, their data will be automatically saved. So that's why user do not no need to save that data by itself again and again. It saves it automatically by using a blur function. After that, the our next event is mouse over. So within that mouse over event, we are going to see the mouse over event can perform whenever we suppose we are writing any text. Suppose I am write one text line on my UI, that is suppose I can write welcome. So when I am taking my cursor over that mouse over that line which are written within my UI, and that I am writing a event for mouse over. When I am going my mouse of my cursor, when my cursor of mouse is going on that particular sentence, that time the at a time when the cursor is over on that point, mouse cursor is over on that point, that time that event is generated. So vice versa, similar as mouse leave event is also there. We are also creating one UI line for the mouse leave function. That means when we are taking cursor over that line or particular area, that time there is not generation of any kind of event. When we came out from that area, then immediately event should be generated, and this difference will be, we can see those difference on our UI's console. So for those particular things, for key up and key down, we can implement the additional buttons. That means we are putting that feature on additional buttons like enter button or space button. So this is overall about key features. Thank you.